Hello and welcome back to space.
How about that trailer, guys? What do you think of that?
It's so good. The chat goes F every time we show it on stream. It's lovely.
I'm holding it down too. There we go. I'm back. I've been away for a little while. Yeah, Martin is
out sick, unfortunately.
Out sick today, but we were so happy to show you Apocalypse. It is something we've been working on for a really, really long time, and we're so excited about it. It's coming out really soon, and I'm happy that I don't have to be so secretive anymore.
Yeah.
I can talk about it very openly. In the past, I was just hinting at some of the stuff we were going to do, but now you can see it before your very eyes.
Yes, it's very, very nice.
History Whiz is in fact back.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes.
History Senpai. So, this is Orcs versus Dwarves. May be a reference to something. I don't know. It's weird.
There was some author in England in the early 20th century who had some sort of thing about that.
See, that's not the reference I was going for, but absolutely, sure.
It started with a T, maybe? I don't know.
So, we have, if we make ourselves small and go over to Jamie's screen. So we have the Orc Star Cannots here, which are barbaric despoiler orcs.
Outstanding.
If you open your thing here, it's been a while since we did this, so you can see the lovely magenta in production civic thing.
Yeah, that's not final.
No.
Anyways, before we get too far into this, I want to mention that we did have some technical difficulties last week.
Of course.
As you all know, we are one of the very few companies who will show you hot code before it's fully releasable. We want to do this to get you excited for what we're going to release and give you some information about it before release day, but that doesn't carry an element of risk. It means that sometimes we put something on that hasn't been through a full QA cycle. So we want to apologize for last week. If we can, we're going to go a little bit longer this week to cover for that.
We're going to go for 2 hours is the idea. If this breaks again and we're like, well, we can't continue this, we have a backup.
That's right.
This time I've prepared a backup. I started a new game this morning and we can hopefully show off one of the things.
So if things drop, don't lose hope. Just stand by and we will fill the channel with something new that we've got standing by for you. But we're going to give it a go. We are actually able to find and fix a fair number of connection bugs in the last week. It should be more stable. So
fantastic.
Let me.
I'm going to let you get acquainted. I'm going to put it on slowest, so things are still running, but it's going to take a very long time.
Cool. I got to tell you, this new system. I mean, the fact that things like frontier stations are gone, to me, that is so awesome. I hated those things from the first. I bought the game on release day, and I was like, why am I forced to guess what my borders will be?
Yeah.
Why do I have to save scum to get the territory I want? Why do I have to guess what's going to happen if I delete it when my borders expand naturally? You don't have to deal with any of that anymore. If you want something, you reach out, you put hands on it, you take it, and then you claim it and fight and defend it. It feels so much more tangible what you own and what you don't own. And I just feel like it's such a more intuitively easy to understand system of ownership. And it gives you a good reason to fight too, because hey, if there's a strategic cross-world system that might itself not be super rich, but it just controls that road junction.
Absolutely.
It's just like military. Oh, I'm going to do it again, guys. It's just like military history.
He's back.
You don't fight for the town, you fight for the bridge that goes through the town. That's it.
Absolutely. And of course, with the new system, you have interesting borders like this one.
You can make all sorts of crazy pseudo-pornographic shapes for your empire. That's a feature right there. I'd pay money for that. All right.
Absolutely.
So let me look at my planets here and see if everything. I got a lot of stuff that can be upgraded. Although Martin is fairly poor on resources just now.
Yes, he also has some. Last I remember, he has some issues with unrest on his planets. So you may have to handle that at some point.
Yeah, he told me that I asked him what his objectives were so that I don't completely trash his save game, and he said he wanted to expand towards the galactic north and try to stay out of a war early, before we can develop ourselves.
We pretty much said this is mine, and anything north of this is yours. Galactic north.
Hey, look, he's got the Greater South Galactic Co-Prosperity Sphere going on. All right.
Exactly. Of course, you are playing the bad guys, or, well, depends on who you're asking, really.
Good is a point of view.
Exactly. And I am, of course, playing the objectively good guys, the Dwarf Citizen Republic. So,
Well, orcs don't really like to build so much as they like to inhabit the ruins of people they've destroyed, right?
Sure.
That's how they're typically portrayed in fantasy. I feel like it's important to, ground game mechanics in solid lore. So
absolutely. I mean, we do have a lore team, which is something I didn't know until very recently. Yeah, which is really cool.
Yeah, totally. I mean, a lot of the work that our content designers do, well, they script and they plan and script events and story chains and things like that. But in so doing, they generally are the ones who organically sort of create a lore. Now, with Stellaris, we don't have a set storyline. There's a few key things that are sort of semi-canon, and like, the United Nations of Earth, the Commonwealth of Man, things like that. But because you have a random galaxy with a synchronous start, and anything can happen, unlike our historical games where you start with after a large period of history has happened and after cultures and societies and nations have already formed, you get to create your entire own story in Stellaris, but there's still some things that we like to keep in common, and we reference it a lot in the trailers,
Yes. If you actually, if you watch the new trailer, the story trailer, that's the beginning of a multi-trailer story going on. And now that I've put that out there, after the game has released, I'd like to see some Reddit posts about that, just to see if people can figure out.
Yeah, a lot of people have. I was reading the threads and replies to it on various places where we posted it, and a lot of people seemed really excited to sort of infer a narrative out of it.
Yeah.
And we're super excited about that too. It's great when people come up with ideas that even we hadn't thought about. But if we're giving you something that inspires your imagination that way, well, that's what we aim to do, In the gaming industry, we're in the business of imagination and selling, like creating fun.
Yeah.
Selling like novel, amazing journeys and experiences you can go on inside your own head. And I'm really glad that people enjoyed it as much as we did. It was really cool to make.
Custy says, please, can we have once more of the trailer of Apocalypse so we can have feels together? We'll play it at the end of the stream.
Yeah.
At the end of these 2 hours, I think we need to have that break.
It is a good one, I tell you.
It's so good. Like I saw it maybe a dozen times maybe before, while it was work in progress, and like it never stopped being amazing.
Yeah, some of my favorite comments on it are like, Paradox, I came here for spoilers, not feels, or something. And it's so true, isn't it?
Oh, it's absolutely lovely.
Yeah.
All right, are you okay with me pulling it up to normal?
Yeah, I think so.
There we go. So yeah. Darth Molix, we played on slow because Jamin normally doesn't play on stream, I guess. Even though over the last, I don't know, few months, you've probably been on stream more than Martin.
I've been out a couple of times. I do have lots of other responsibilities.
Yeah.
I mean, primarily my responsibility is the administration of the team. But when Martin is out sick, and if I'm free-ish, I try to come down.
Yeah.
And
all right, so I can talk about a little bit here. So in this liaison station, I built a trading hub, which gives me 4 energy credits per month. Now, a trading hub requires, actually, let's see if I can see a requirement here. No, so it requires that there is an inhabited planet or station. Trying to remember if I'm right here, in the system, so that there's someone to trade there. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense. And then I'm also building an off-world trading station, which improves my trading hub by +2.
So what we've done with this is we've tried to make. I mean, science fiction is filled with many examples of famous space stations. Deep Space Nine, Babylon 5, all that stuff, and there really are cities in space, and they would each develop in their own way depending upon where they were, what they were built for. Are they built for defense against invasion? Are they built to be a diplomatic or a trade hub or whatever? And so we wanted to give you sort of that ability to customize as well. The early stations that you build will likely be for defending your borders, because in the early game, pirates are much more common and aggressive than they used to be. They actually move around. They don't just block systems. You need those spaceports, especially when your early fleet is quite weak. But as your borders expand, the places that used to be a military frontier outpost will gradually shift into a city.
Yes.
Just like it was in real history. Instead of being just a a place with a stockade to hold soldiers and supplies. It'll become a place where people live and work and do business and make money for you. So
Absolutely.
and you can customize them in the same way in the game. So it's quite cool.
Let's see. These guys are... Actually, let's see. Is there anyone here I like? Yes, I like you. But you are in the wrong part of space. That's me. I like me. Like you.
Don't have any buildings I can really upgrade. I need to see what my unrest situation is like here. It's not too bad, actually.
Well, I don't like anyone here. That is unfortunate. Ooh, I have a lot more military power than I realized. Let's go and take out these mining drones. What's the worst pirates can do to you if you are very reckless about expansion? They can take out all your mining stations.
In general, like what you'll find is that if you don't defend what you've held, you will sink a lot of resources into stations that they will then destroy. Yeah. It sort of simulates them raiding your commerce. They can even disable star bases for a time. What happens is they invade a station. If the starbase is quite weak, they'll attack it and disable it. They can't destroy it entirely. You'll still keep ownership of it, but you'll lose the benefits of the starbase until it has time to be repaired. And if they decide to park themselves in the station, you need to send a fleet to get them out of there. They are much more annoying now, and I mean that in a good way, like the fun annoying. Like, okay, I have a natural check on my expansion, and I can't just completely snowball in the early game.
Yeah, and they are also a way to sort of discourage you from being like, no, I'm just gonna take like these and then leave this, because that's gonna be a hot spot for pirates.
Yeah, when we came up with the idea of expanding system by system, the natural problem of snaking occurred, and that in playtesting we found that people would expand in a way to try to block neighboring empires. Yeah. And you can still do that, but if you leave holes and gaps inside your space, they're much more likely to be inhabited by, to be occupied by pirates. That can become a major problem. So you need to make the choice of snaking and trying to block off desirable space from your rivals and accepting a security risk, or just trying to have a good solid blob of like a core that you can actually hold on to. And it's the classic challenge of empires, right? That if you grow too big and too fast, it becomes a massively difficult task to hold on to it. And what I've found is I get a good rhythm going with two construction ships. Yeah. One of them is expanding my space, and the other is developing it. Mm-hmm. That way, you're not spending all of your influence on expansion so fast that you hit a wall, but you're also getting the benefits of what you've claimed and not just grabbing empty territory.
Absolutely. Did I see a dismantle station button? Yeah.
Yeah, there is. You have a limited number of stations. It's up here. If you switch the camera on to me, I'm pointing at it right now. That's your station thingy, and it will basically. The idea is we don't want you to be able to fortify every single system, because then war would become basically World War I in space, and you'd have to claw your way through enemy territory. This means you can pick strategic places you want to fortify and make stronger and develop. Yeah. And if a place, because your borders move, because an enemy becomes a friend, something like that, loses its strategic value, you can downgrade it to allow you to build a stronger star fortress somewhere else that is now more important.
Absolutely. And also for modules, same thing. You can dismantle modules if you're like, well, I'm losing a lot of energy right now, but I'm not at my naval cap. I need that extra energy, or like I don't need to have 10 shipyards. Let's just dismantle some of them, get some of that upkeep back.
Yeah, precisely. Once you decide the configuration of something, it's not final. You're not stuck with it forever. And as the situation of your empire changes, you can. I mean, you pay the resources to reconstruct it, but it's you can customize it to work the way you want.
Why did you decide to give robots pirates? Well, they're not technically pirates.
Robots?
Yeah.
Pirates?
Robot empires can get...
Well,
they can get...
You know what? You could RP it in any way you want. You could say they're rogue units that have developed like a limited form of self-awareness.
I'm pretty sure the game actually says that.
And they don't want to be part of the hive, like the robot hive mind anymore. All sorts of stuff. We try to make the effects as generic as possible so that they apply across multiple empires. Yep. Obviously, with the more exotic ones like hive minds and stuff, it is a little bit more challenging. But still, we do what we can. Oh man, I've got a bunch of construction ships sitting around doing nothing. I gotta...
Evasive maneuvers.
This game is beautiful.
You in a scrap there, man? What's up?
No, I'm good. I'm just watching my ships take out this mining ancient mining drone station. It looks beautiful. They're like little arrows that fly around.
Yeah, the humanoid ship class is quite cool. It's very elegant. I like it.
Right. Did I get... Nope. No research in here. Let's take out these void clouds as well. Join these up. What is the egalitarian ethics bonus in Cherry? Let's see. I am egalitarian, so here you can see fanatic egalitarian. You get plus 30% influence gain from factions and minus 20% consumer goods costs, which is really good. Wait, no.
Queue up some exploration for my guys here.
I did get.
Martin likes to run a lot of civilian ships right early, and it takes a bit more micro to run them all, but it does help your expansion if you can keep them going. I've actually started doing that too. I used to be content with just 2 science ships in one construction for a really long time, but I realized I was actually funneling myself on progress.
I've noticed myself using a lot more construction ships and science ships as of recently.
Now, full disclosure, I am not the strongest Stellaris player who ever lived, especially if I don't control pause.
You mean you and me both.
I don't have as much time to play it as much as I'd like, basically because of my other responsibilities at work. My job is to get the thing out on time and on budget.
Yeah.
Martin's job is to make it fun and interesting and to plan it. But I do play when I can. I've been playing a single-player game recently with an almost identical empire, actually.
Oh, really?
Because
so you're well acquainted with this then?
I just got a diplomatic message, and one of my options to reply is, "Respect our authority!" I'm sorry. Anytime I see that, I'm going to do that voice for the rest of my days.
Well, I mean, last time Martin yelled whenever he was contacted by the Marauders, so...
Outstanding.
I think people are used to it at this point.
Good.
Okay. Can you show us ship designer? Yeah, sure. Why not? So we can look at my corvettes, and
so
it's pretty much similar as usual. Yeah.
Yeah. The ship designer, we've changed a lot of things. Power plant has become like a side component, like a singular thing, rather than ones that you can double up on. We've added some new auxiliary things, like the power plant booster if you're just a little bit short, things like that. Yeah, in general, it's an evolutionary rather than a revolutionary change, but we do feel like combat balance has been improved. We tweaked a lot of the stats of the weapons. There was an idea that we had that we wanted to make the difference between Class 1 and Class 2 weapons and Class 2 and Class 3 weapons a little bit stronger, so technology felt a bit more meaningful.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. He's got some edicts that are expiring here, and I should probably get them going again.
Well, do you have good... you're good on energy.
Actually, hold on.
Oh yeah, we have those energy edicts that people were talking about.
Yes.
Oh, the Dev Diary was talking about.
Yes, they are a... we wanted to diversify the edicts and make them more useful. So some of them cost energy instead of influence now, because you need to use influence to expand. Because there's basically a new sink for it. We didn't want to force you to spend it on too many things at the same time. But you have interesting choices of where you want to use it.
Absolutely.
Oh man, making contact with everyone.
They are Fnatic Cinephile. Hello. Where are you located? Ooh. Okay. I think I can be friends with you.
Friends?
Yeah. So you weren't here for last time, but I had one of the worst starts, which is why I'm not only worse at the game than Martin, clearly.
Yeah.
I am also behind now because I had a terrible start.
Oh dear.
So I'm gonna need to make some friends real quick. If I'm gonna... is the Roman name list part of Cherry or part of Apocalypse or a mod? It's actually part of Humanoids, I believe.
I think so, yes.
Humanoid SPQR, which is why I have Drusus Faucius.
Outstanding. Okay, I should put some fortresses in on my worlds here.
Oh, yeah.
As you might know, we've converted ground troops to from something that you build manually with a lot of manual steps, and it was just kind of annoying,
Yeah.
to something that is generated by fortress buildings. So if you have worlds that are, and it takes a tile, so you have to think strategically about how you build them. If you have worlds that are safely in the interior and you believe are safe from massive unrest or alien invasion, you can forego the stronghold and just focus on economic exploitation of your worlds. But if you got border worlds, and I'm not calling it Cadia, but basically it's Cadia, you want to fortify the hell out of them and make them a very difficult nut to crack. You put strongholds down, and strongholds also build a small degree of influence, so they have a value in peace as well. Unity, rather. Sorry.
Yes. And they can be upgraded.
Yes, they can.
Through
they
techs.
get stronger, and each one generates a preset number of defensive armies, and defensive armies don't suck anymore.
Yes.
That's a big thing.
It's
You
a
can
huge
actually
thing.
repel a space invasion now. If the invader doesn't bring enough, you can actually throw their asses off your world. That is something that I've been waiting for a long time.
There we go.
Scientific breakthrough achieved.
Let's see, what are we doing? Oof, this is a very juicy system. Cadia held on 8,000 years. That's true.
Okay. I need to try to fill these holes in my space. I'm getting a little...
Burbs 256. Give me a moment. I'll show off what you can do to fortify a system. There we go. There we go. So, first off, you can build defense platforms. The number of defense platforms you have is dependent on a number of factors. First off, the level of your base. Yeah. I'm gonna look over to you, and you can fact check me whenever I say something wrong.
Yeah, of course.
Then you also have a bunch of modules, which, for example, this increases the efficiency of your base by giving hull points and hit points, armor, but also some buildings. Let's see if I have any here.
Some quite cool ones. There's
you can do quite a lot of disruption to enemies.
So there's the communication jammer. What is the effect of that again?
Sublight speed.
Slows them down. So basically it's simulating confusing their command and control with radio jamming.
Yes.
And the in-game effect is it slows them down. So it gives your own fleet more time to get there and intervene if they decide to bounce one of your worlds.
There are also modules for increasing the amount of defense platforms you can have.
Yeah. You can make a system... a limited number of systems, not an unlimited amount.
No.
I don't want people to feel like this is going to be Passchendaele in space. But you can make a certain number of key systems really, really hard to crack, and at the very least buy enough time for your actual fleet to intervene. In the past, we felt that the combination of inability to reliably intercept enemy fleets because they could just jump past your defenses, combined with the natural, just basic weakness of stations and defense platforms, made them almost useless. And so people put pretty much all of their effort into fleets, and most players did that. And we want to give people who want to either hold on to what they've taken so that they can free up their fleet for offensive operations elsewhere, or to just make themselves really difficult to take if they have neighbors who are stronger and they're trying to buy time so they can reverse the situation. We want to give them options to do that.
Yes.
It comes at a cost. You have to pay for it. It's not free.
No,
it's going to come out of resources that you could spend for other things. But we're just giving you more choices.
Yes. And they're also more versatile. As you said, you can convert former military stations into more civilian-focused things that will make you money.
Once they move away from the danger zone on your border, you can... danger zone!
Of course.
Once they move away from... once they're out of danger, you can convert them to more civilian purposes, which will back up your economy.
Also, if you haven't checked out, on Monday we had a stream where we went through a lot of features. We went through claim and war and stuff like that. And so if you haven't checked it out, check it out. It's on youtube.com/paradoxgrandstrategy. I know Defect in chat asked something that was answered there, which was the space geography, basically.
Yeah, we have made things like nebulas and whatnot, which were in the game before, but had a very sort of opaque effect. It was hard to know what they did, and it wasn't even clear. We put an icon in the system view when there is a geographic effect, and we tell you exactly what it does. And the hope is it will actually meaningfully affect your strategy.
Yeah. Oh.
I think there's one
That's very useful.
What's up?
I'm looking at the icon and the
there it is.
tooltip. That's
There's the tooltip, but our dumbasses are covering it. So let's. What do you think of that, people?
Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Oh, hey!
Hey, on the fly production.
We have the technology.
Hey, I found you. We pursue equality.
Respect our authority! Respect our authority!
Jesus.
Okay.
Let's see. Do we have any?
Why whisper when you can yell?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, let's continue building out.
I feel like I should probably build up my fleet as well, because I've got a whole bunch of neighbors, and they're probably not going to like me too much.
Yeah. Someone's asking about hyperlanes. So, I'm gonna do something real quick here. And I think... Actually, no, that doesn't close your borders, but whatever. I can't declare him a rival because something. So, hyperlanes have various different looks. Can you declare me, just close your borders towards me real quick, so while I explain this. So these blue
Who are
lines.
you again?
I'm the
Dwarf
Dwarf
Citizens Republic.
Yeah. So these blue lines are lines across where all of your ships can travel. These gray lines are where you haven't explored. So you need to bring a science ship to check that out and explore that before you can take, say, construction ships or military ships in there. And red lines are lines where you can't go because, for example, here it's closed borders. And that's the short thing on hyperlanes and their colors.
I just insulted you, by the way, Blondie.
We consider the Dwarf Citizen Republic to be one of the great accidents of the galaxy. It should never have been. What?
Savage.
I cannot stand for this.
Okay. Well, now
I insulted you back.
Now I know that dwarves have long memories, and it's gone in the Great Book of Grudges, and you're gonna
Yeah.
make me pay in the fullness of time.
Absolutely. If my worlds are destroyed, will I get a xenophobic ethics attraction? Now, I won't say what happens, but you may be along the right lines. But you'll have to experience it for yourself.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool effects that we're coming out with, and we're not actually done all of them.
No.
We have a ton of cool ideas, but basically we had to think about every possible outcome that could happen if there was the technology to destroy entire populated worlds, how that would interact with the different ideologies in the game and things like that. And we think you'll like it. It's going to be cool. It's going to be cool.
Svegerskita asks, what's the dead bird in the Empire menu? So this is the Casus Belli.
Yes. Well,
icons.
you know, a dove symbolizes peace.
Yep.
So naturally, a dead dove indicates that the chance of peace is gone.
Yeah.
And there is only an eternity of war. Yes.
So here we is the... What is that? That's a dove. It's just a dead dove, which means that you have a Casus Belli, and if the dead dove is being aimed upon, then you are the target of a Casus Belli. So let's see.
It's a really interesting thing. In the early game, I find that it sort of mirrors the classic Age of Sail, when the great European powers had just discovered the New World, and then they were in a frantic race with each other to try to claim territory in this new continent before their rivals could. And yeah, they were snaking and trying to block each other. I mean, the Spanish and the Portuguese had a pretty nasty fight for South America, which was only settled basically by the Pope interfering, the Pope himself saying, "Okay, Portugal, you get Brazil, and Spain gets everything else." Was it Treaty of Tordesillas or something like that? I don't remember. But yeah, I mean, you get that effect in space when you start in the early game. You're just expanding in a sort of organic way, but as you discover other empires, and you start to race for those desirable systems. You're burning a lot of your influence just trying to grab systems, and then once the borders have solidified, when there's nowhere else to really expand to, that's when you start making claims on each other. That's when you start fabricating reasons to fight.
Absolutely. I'm gonna put it up to fast if you don't mind. Just for a while.
Yeah, it should be okay.
So
We're mostly just doing economic development
Yeah.
here. But I want to block off these holes in my border. And I have a dead
System
scientist.
survey complete. Special
Where's the Space
project
Vatican? Well, I would assume if you make an authoritarian spiritualist empire with imperial authority. Well, no.
The Space Vatican is wherever you want.
Probably dictatorial authority. Then that would be Space Papal State or Space Vatican.
I imagine they'd be spiritualists, maybe inward perfectionists, have a ton of allies. Not really much of a military, except for some dudes with halberds and funny,
I'm thinking authoritarian.
and funny suits.
That's how I feel about the Catholic Church.
We should probably keep that sort of thing out of the stream.
You know what? Very good point.
Everyone's got their own feelings about all that
Oh,
stuff. Alrighty.
How much war score is a destroyed planet? Well, there is no more war score.
It basically is a system
So-
of exhaustion.
Yeah.
I'm not actually sure if the size and population level of the planet influences how much exhaustion you get from it being blown up, but it will be a major blow to the defenders' willingness to resist. We're talking like a Hiroshima and Nagasaki style, like giant slap in the face saying, you better either beat us or surrender now. The objective is to make it feel really, really decisive, conclusive. We're not just trading losses of ships in space and our core territory is not under threat. This is like life and death, Alderaan type stuff.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Let's go and kill some more things. Crankster TV. Yes, you've missed the entire point of the Apocalypse DLC if you don't know that you can destroy planets. I suggest going back to youtube.com/Paradox Grand Strategy and checking out the First Look stream where we go through the Colossus.
Yeah, we have some quite good breakdowns of the systems systems that are planned. It'll give you a full explanation of what's coming up, or as full of an explanation as we can give you at this point.
Yeah, of course.
Let's see here. I feel like I really need to grab these border systems before someone else does. Although it is I am sacrificing a bit of economic development here. I don't have. I'm claiming all this these systems, but I haven't actually developed any of them. But it's that sort of race, right? I mean, just like in the New World, the idea was just put your flag on it, grab it, and then you can economically develop it after it's safely in your sphere, right? So it gives a sort of interesting sort of feeling of epochs, eras to your game. If you think of like what space exploration would be like, our closest parallel would be the age of exploration, the age of sail on our own Earth. And to me, as a history guy, it feels like really plausible the way that it plays out in the game now. Because you directly claim things, you move out in the galaxy, you claim it, you develop it, and then you try to hold it. And if you're not happy with what you've got, well, you can get the swords out.
Construction complete.
Sen Kimley. There we go. Nurgle was on it. History doesn't disappoint.
I'm glad. I'm happy to see you all, by the way. It's been a while. We had a really restful break over the holidays, which we really needed. We've been working on this thing a long time, and we're just so happy that we're coming up on the finish line here, and we're going to be able to unleash it soon. I really feel like when we release it, I need a big, massive red button.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to say, commence primary ignition.
I shall build you one.
Yeah. That'd
Shouldn't
be
be that hard to make.
That'd be amazing. I want to be like Tarkin on the bridge. You may fire when ready. Peter Cushing was such a... It was Peter Cushing, right? Who played Tarkin?
Yeah.
He was such a pimp. Oh, man. He was so well cast.
Wow. Of all the things you could have said there, pimp was not one I was expecting.
Not in the literal sense, in the figurative sense.
Yeah, no,
like
I
a
got
dude
that.
who handles his business. Alderaan was just sitting there waiting to be destroyed, and he was the one who had whose finger on the button. Got the job done.
How familiar are you with the Fleet Manager?
I have been using it a little bit.
Okay.
In general, it's the most user-friendly thing that it gives you is you can set a desired fleet composition, the number and
do
the
you want to show
and
it
class.
off? I'll pause so we can show it off.
Yeah, please do. Let me just get some research going here so I don't forget. So basically, this is what it is. Each fleet in your empire has a set composition, and that composition, as you add ships to it, is automatically updated here, and it saves that. So if you go into battle, let's say you want a fleet that has two cruisers, 4 destroyers, and 12 corvettes.
Yep.
8 of one class and 4 of the other. You can save that in here, and then as if the fleet takes losses, with a 1 click, either from here or inside the fleet view, here, you can reinforce it, and it will queue up construction of the missing ships in the nearest available spaceports, and then automatically route them to join the fleet with 1 click. So
it's very nice.
The previously annoying system of having to micromanage every tiny fleet and figure out the ideal force ratio and then have your calculator and your slide rule out to get it all, that's all gone. That I think is the #1 advantage for the player with this new thing. Because fleets, especially since the new system requires multiple fleets instead of one massive big one, we felt this was important so that you wouldn't feel like you had to micromanage a bunch of fleets. I think people will like it.
So I think, people are really loving it in chat.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we knew people were asking for it for a long time, and I want you to know that if you ask for something, even if we don't reply, we read everything. And if it's never a question of a lack of desire to do something, it's almost always a question of when can we fit it into our schedule.
Absolutely.
So I want you to know that we hear you. Don't be mad if we don't do it right away. But we are always sensitive to your feedback, and if it's a good idea that we think we can actually pull off, we will do it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So we have I don't want to say strange question, but Bankio5 asks, will you add famous mods into the base game? And
the thing about that is mods are there for customizing a game, and it may make it perfect for you.
Yeah.
But it may not make it perfect for every player. What we put into the base game is basically stuff that we feel has a universal or close to universal appeal.
Yep.
And that will allow modders included to develop more specialized content for people who have more specific requirements. We have to consider the whole player base. So yeah, it's not something that we would really do.
Also, it doesn't work like that. You can't just take a mod and put it into the game. The game is written differently from how mods are written.
We try to make our game as mod-friendly as possible, and we want to encourage people to mod as much as possible. That's one of the coolest things about Paradox games.
Absolutely.
In general, we think of an expansion as a toolkit that modders can use to make more customized stuff, and their creativity is endless. So, we wouldn't even try to fight with them on that. We just want to give you a big pile of toys to play with to make something cool of your own. And we sell, the expansions, we sell massive new features that give modders new things to build upon.
Absolutely. So I know people were talking about the super weapons. I wasn't able to save them. Well, goodbye. The super weapons that are in Apocalypse, there have been mods that have done similar things. But I don't think there have been mods that have done the exact same thing that we have done. And the system that has now been built can be used to make those mods even better.
Yeah, and a necessity, to give you a bit of background, basically mods work in the stuff that's open to moddables, like in the scripting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We have access to the hard code. That means that we can do fundamental, massive changes to the entire game that would be beyond the scope of a mod. And that's what we focus on. With our expansions, we try not to duplicate the work of others. We try to make something that we have the unique tools to do ourselves. And that will be desirable to our players. So we hope you like it. And I tell you this, I like it. I think it's the best it's been since release. This is it's massively remade.
Why don't you like me?
That is
That is a supremacy.
Philosophical question.
Yeah, well, I just noticed a bunch of my dwarfs are unhappy. It's because these guys are very unhappy that we haven't adopted supremacy.
Oh, don't go there. Nope, nope, nope. I almost routed my construction ship through a place with some space amoebas.
Well, you could use, actually, space amoebas move, never mind.
I should go and get my fleet and whoop them.
Yeah.
In fact, that's what I'm going to do.
System survey.
If it was a stationary enemy, you could use your the new feature to tell nobody to go to the system.
Yeah, you can. If there's something like, you know, like the automated dreadnought or like the space dragon or whatever, and you don't want your ships to pathfind clumsily through it and get themselves blown up, you can lock a system off, and it will prevent any pathfinding going through there, which saves you needless losses, especially when your empire is big and you don't want to micro every ship. Nice little quality of life thing.
Yeah.